Well, Sunday got off to a blast already, and we're back for set number 2 now. And another 2 teams that are potentially competing for a top 4 spot, Luminosity versus SoaR.
And Luminosity dropping 2 games to enemy early on. Otherwise, I think, have gone mostly untouched.
Beat Envy, beat Eager, beat Denial so far. Across the way, though, SoaR recently dropped to Eager 0-2, and the Eager lineup looking very strong. For me, the SoaR train is starting to decline.
Yes.
Honestly, I think everyone came with a lot of expectations for this team, and maybe the fact they're a new team in the league is starting to hinder them.
They're not unfair expectations.
That's true.
Andinster painted Baskin as the best player in the world. You know, Cloud9 or now Luminosity painted this team as competitors for the top seed, and so far that's not exactly what we've seen. This is looking like a 3rd place team, if anything, and Burden B to SoaR today as a continued downward trend will almost eliminate them from Sweden entirely.
We'll see how SoaR do, because LG, not an easy opposition to face up against, but, you know, on paper, when you look at how these teams have played, this could be very, very even. I think I went split for this game, honestly, but if I don't see SoaR perform here personally, I'm going to probably be downtrading them to a mid-team table, alongside, you know, Allegiance, Eager, Denial, all those teams.
I like LG here. I think I got LG for a 2-0 here, specifically because I think their teamwork is just better. Their team fight phase is better. The early game, I think, belongs to the mechanical masters, a lot of whom belong to SoaR, but you're still going up against Andy and BaRRa.
That's true.
Who very rarely make mechanical mistakes. They make errors in judgment, as we all do, but very rarely will you ever cite either andinster or BaRRaCCuDDa for missing a big attack or throwing a team fight.
Well, let's go straight into picks and bans then for this game between the two and see who will be the first pick, and it will be SoaR.
Okay. First ban to come out. I'm assuming that we're going to see Khepri within these, and Soul as well. Otherwise, I think it's pretty wide open. The
big difference when you actually look at the teams that these 2 teams have played so far as well is Eager and Envy is the 2 talking points, because they played both of them. The only difference in that is that, well, SoaR went 1-3 against Eager and Envy, and meanwhile Luminosity went 4-0. So when I work that out already, you can see that Luminosity should have the edge here. Isis banned, Soul banned.
A lot of bans for Isis, 52%. And Uller going to be taking away a 8% pick ban rate with a 100% win rate. Uller gets taken off the table, and Khepri is allowed.
Such a shot at Hurriwind that to take away his ult. I mean, we've seen BaRRaCCuDDa play it, and we've also seen BaRRaCCuDDa play it this season. They really don't want to deal with it.
Khepri going to be locked in. Jigz, one of my favorite Khepri players, if not my favorite Khepri player worldwide.
But is this one of the reasons that Luminosity have done this ult ban, is to give them Khepri on purpose, put him onto a god that they're not worried about him engaging on, but just peeling on?
Well, I mean, Alquang and Thanatos are both still on the table. It's unlikely that we'll see a pick and a ban, or even 2 bans coming out from SoaR for that. It's going to be Zeus. For me, I think this character is just getting overplayed.
You feel so?
He's not performing. He requires way too much of a team comp around him. No, it's going to be Awilix.
Well, it's the first time we've actually seen that Zeus pickup so far this season for BaRRaCCuDDa in the mid lane. If it's going to be played in the mid lane is the first talking point. More than likely, however, is Awilix gets locked in for potentially andinster here as well. Back to SoaR, though. A lot of gods available. Houyi on the table. Apollo, which we've not seen much of today so far as well in the Hunter roles. And plenty of other mid lanes available too.
It's going to be Houyi, okay. I wonder why the Awilix and Zeus so early. Are these majorly contested picks by SoaR?
Well, I guess as soon as you pick Awilix, you have to think when you're drafting about what god you're going to take that have leaps. Because the moment you take a leap, your Awilix can immediately counter it. And the only one they've picked up so far is that Houyi. Thor for the jungle makes a lot of sense. Doesn't actually use any form of jump, just teleports to his hammer. So he's going to be okay there.
Okay, final pick in the first phase is going to be Sobek. 2 forms of knockup to help with Awilix. Great peel for Zeus as well. So far a very cohesive comp for Luminosity. So Cyrus gets taken away. I'm
surprised we've seen the Sobek, because we've seen Bacchus a lot coming out from JeffHindla at the moment. But the Sobek has 2 forms of being able to knock up multiple gods with the Tail Whip and the Charge Prey as well to allow Awilix in. Osiris banned by Luminosity. Big shot at Baskin there. Very, very personal shot too, because Baskin's Osiris is a deadly, deadly god.
Apollo getting taken away, as will Janus from Luminosity. Final ban goes to SoaR.
And her, maybe?
They're still looking, it's possible they still look at Hunters. They could take out a Guardian. Guan Yu still available, which could be very strong for this comp.
Really thinking about this one, I saw. It's a good position for them to be in.
Amaterasu might be a good ban. Yeah.
Yeah, good call. I mean, Amaterasu, let's talk about that for a second. Snoopy's played it 5 times this season already. Yeah. They've only played in 7 games, and he's picked it 5 times. So 8 games, 5 times picked. Shows it's one of his real go-tos in that lane.
This is the Snoopy god right now for solo lane, so it'll be fun for us to be able to see something different from him.
Well, he's played Tyr, Osiris, and Bellona too. Tyr taken off, which leaves only Bellona and Tyr available. So we'll see where he ends up going, because I'm pretty sure Baskin versus Snoopy will be a very interesting matchup now, especially because Snoopy's not going to have his go-to god.
It's going to be Ram. For the Hunter role, BaRRaCCuDDa will be taking that to the duo lane.
I'm really feeling Rama at the moment, especially with the throwing dagger. At the moment, his wave clear becomes a lot more stronger in the early game, a lot like Apollo. And his late game is just so beneficial because that role, he's basically got two forms of escape with his ultimate and with his role. Yep. He can really turn things around in engagement.
Bellona will be locked in for SoaR. Baskin taking that to the solo lane. Final pick, looking for a mage. I'm looking at Chronos here. Ooh. Probably. They don't have a ton of auto attack damage. They need a major burst god as well for towers. Hou-Yi, of course, can fill that role.
Real long thinking. It will be the Chronos. Good call there on that for the mid lane to go up against Zeus. Very ranged focus as well, so I'm not going to get hit too much by the chain lightnings.
On top of the fact that he can rewind out of the Zeus damage, bait very well against Awilix.
And when you talk about ultimates on the side of SoaR, with Khepri's ultimate too, potentially 2 revives coming out there for Chronos alone, or at least for 2 members of this team. Final pit's Luminosity. It should be their solo laner. It will be Guan.
Yeah, this makes the most sense. Healing on this team is very important. A little bit more frontline control or backline control, depending. Sobek and Guan can both swap out very easily given their movement. And then a great initiation with cavalry charge or a chase down even for a character like Hou-Yi.
And you actually see there's a bit of flex on both these teams. SoaR with 2 frontline initiators with the Thor and Bellona, they can technically both initiate there. Khepri will semi-frontline if need be and then force an engagement on the odd occasion, but he's got to be careful if he misses those abducts.
I'm glad it's Metyankey taking Hou-Yi. I really wouldn't want to see Hou-Yi in the mid lane when the Awilix is hanging around so much. Just puts him at great risk in the early game. So smart of him to make sure he brings that to the Hunter and keep Chronos in the mid.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about Metyankey as well on this Hou-Yi. Him and Cyclone have been arguably discussed as the 2 best Hou-Yi players in North America at the moment, and we saw them match up earlier on this season. But going back to it again with a throwing dagger start, obviously BaRRaCCuDDa across the way going for exactly the same build as his AD carry counterpart.
BaRRaCCuDDa goes into Vamshroud Helmet, not taking the Soul Stone, and you'll notice Hurriwind not taking it either.
Not taking it either, but both junglers as well. Both starting with power potions here at the beginning of the game, looking for that early aggression. I'll tell you something, Awilix with power potion at the early game is not something to underestimate. Can
we hover on Awilix? And give us a hover onto Feather Step.
Yep.
Now remember, 2 times damage is going to be 120 and 50% of your physical power as well. Remember, that'll be doubled to 100% scaling. So this is doing 140 damage at level 1?
It's doing your whole health bar, pretty much.
This does 10 less damage right now with the way that she's built, or maybe a little bit less than that, maybe closer to 20. But 20 less damage than a full Tallow Assault. And this move cripples.
At the start of the game, you actually saw SoaR did take the right and harpies here, so left ones will be contested by these 2 teams. Zeus and Awilix will... Actually, Yanni's going to check that camp first of all, I think, to see what's going on there. He's still level 1. He's just going to hover over the wall for experience here.
Yeah, I wonder what he's looking for. Maybe he's going to go for the boar?
Was he...
Is he going to go for the boar steal?
Not sure. BaRRaCCuDDa did a great damage with that chain lightning there just to hit both of them. Instead, he hits level 2. He's not going to go for the boar steal at all, you know. I wonder if he was hanging there to go for the mid hobbies if they were available, but because he was already there, he's like, well, I've got to stay here now because I've not got a Suku to jump over the wall.
Strangely, they're going to give up the left camps on the side of SoaR. They go for the back camps.
Go for the back camps? Yeah, they don't actually go for that whatsoever. I mean, to be fair, the mids should be split anyway, and the back harpies being up is still an even enough trade. The only difference is, I believe, is the fact that BaRRaCCuDDa will be a little bit further ahead than Hurriwind.
Baskin trying to just keep this pressure on as much as possible. He knows that Snoopy is still new in this role, and while he is getting very good practice, he's not the veteran that Baskin has become over the last 12 months.
Yeah, Baskin in a good position here. On the Bellona versus Guan in the early game anyways. The game goes on, it'll become a slap fest more than anything, and they won't really see each other once it comes to the team fight stages. They'll be looking for the back line, for the likes of Chronos, for the likes of Zeus.
Speaking of Zeus, keeping those creeps off the tower, you'll notice not much on the board here. I would have liked to see a rotation from SoaR's mid and jungle to go towards that back core. Since Baskin is so busy with locking Snoopy down, they could have split this, taken it, allowing Baskin to go in for another steal, but it doesn't seem like that they're going to take it. Andinster rotates over to keep it safe.
You can see the ball taken by Baskin there. Over in the duo lane, though, good pressure coming up from Luminosity early on in this game. This isn't a really big surprise to me. I've been talking about Rama for a little while during picks and bans, especially with throwing dagger being so strong, and especially because he can penetrate through the wave and deal damage to the wave as well as the throwing dagger proc on the first minion hit. It helps his wave clear so much so that Rama is actually not as weak as he used to be in the laning phase.
Metyankey and Jigz going back into the jungle, of course, for the Boars here at 2 minutes. Top side, same thing from the duo lane. So they continue to basically trade even, but you'll notice that SoaR has a slight advantage now, about 300 gold wave to wave.
I'm actually surprised that we didn't see Luminosity look for the invade on those balls. They did have the lane pressure, as I just mentioned. They could have potentially looked for the invade, but were so worried about a potential rotation from mid and jungle that they just backed off and played it safe. Both teams willing to just farm out the early game for now, as level 5 is now reached for Metyankey and BaRRaCCuDDa.
Jeff was kind of gesturing that he was going to go in for that charge prey. Metyankey, very smart to keep himself outside of the range.
And one of the things about a Sobek that a lot of people don't realize, just hovering there in that position is such a threat to begin with that you're like, oh, is he looking for it? Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? I've got to hover over my escape immediately. And to be fair, Hoyi does not have the best way of escaping. It takes a little bit of a channel time to get that leap up.
Snoopy again locked under his tower, a little above half health. Shouldn't have too much trouble with the archers.
However, Luminosity, the first time in the game, they're going to go for the invade. They get lane pressure in left, and andinster's rotation to this red buff will secure it, and they will give it to Awilix.
Right side camps will go to SoaR, as will the Ellies. Baskin will take his back almost at the same time Snoopy will. They'll both likely use their teleports here. Yeah, they're back in lane.
And left harpies are about to spawn now as well, as Andy did soak some of that experience in mid lane. They'll be in a position to go over to these. Will we see a fight from SoaR, though, is the question. It doesn't look like they're aware of it just yet. They're clearing up minions in the mid lane. Andy's setting up to see if someone's going to come and have a cheeky look.
Looking at Homiefe. Definitely going to be spotted.
Full respect.
We got a rotation from Duo as well, which Jeff clearly calls as you see the rest of LG back off. And he going for the steal instead was just going to take some damage.
Yeah, take some poke. He did throw out some, but he didn't actually manage to find it at all. And that took me back all the way to Season 1 Smite, where the mid-harpies were such a contestation point every 3 minutes of the game, where everybody turned up. As a prime example, as we tune in with the solo laners once again, Snoopy out of health potions and mana potions here. So he's under pressure from Baskin early on.
Bottom side, blue buff getting taken. No invade this time. This one's just going to go to Baskin, unlike the red, of course. We're reaching the 5-minute point very soon, which means these red pots are about to wear off from the junglers.
Now, is the reason we've not seen any gank pressure come out from anybody just yet just because the respect for these teams, or is it the compositions that these teams have built?
I think it could go either way, honestly. It's hard to get into the mind of two teams who, generally know each other pretty well. They're going to know different things about their rotations, how they like to start, how they like to rotate, for certain jungle camps, when they like to gold furies, what builds they're going to go for. It's very hard to keep things secret from scrim partners, and I'm pretty sure that these teams are scrimming almost exclusively.
All right, okay, so that makes it more interesting of a matchup between the two as well. Right inside of the jungle is still available for Luminosity to take, blue buff available for Snoopy. Expect to see a rotation around there from Andy once that mid wave is actually cleared out first of all. There's no pressure at all there by SoaR at the moment, as Baskin returns to solo with full boots, working towards what potentially could be a breastplate of valor, but we've seen a couple of alterations just lately.
All right, Snoopy cleaning up the Ellies.
What do you think about throwing dagger on Guan Yu, by the way?
No.
Why not?
Stop it.
Think about it. Tallow Assault, and then you auto-attack once and you've cleared the wave.
Or you could just dash the wave.
Yeah, but then you wasted your dash, and that's mana. Ew. Keep it up for safety.
Yeah, as opposed to the gold.
I'm just saying, throw a crit on Guan Yu. Imagine that on his attack chain. Ooh. Could be painful. Talk about painful. Snoopy getting dived under the tower there by Baskin. Really?
Smart.
Feeling the strength. I like the way he backs out. He could have full committed, but didn't.
Speaking of full commit, might be in some trouble here. Hurriwind in a bad spot, knocked up, uses the beads, will rewind back to full health from less than 10%, but he's in a weird spot. Khepri's ult already burned. He's stuck underneath. Jeff's going to get this one.
Very good play from BaRRaCCuDDa there as well, but he's going to get turned on by the sun's raining down, and the Dunking coming in as well, coming out from Homiefe, 1-for-1. Hunter falls down, as does, sorry, Mage fall down, I should say.
A slight win there, I would say, for Luminosity, getting first blood and a higher level target. You can see the jump up and then jump right back down.
And now a rotation to right straight away from SoaR there. One thing I was mentioning there, BaRRaCCuDDa actually purified the stun coming out from Chronos. But as soon as that happened, SoaR recognized that, and immediately Homiefe focuses onto Zeus, knowing he can't escape the stun combo.
As they should have.
Very well played.
Snoopy continues to get bullied by who a lot of people still consider to be the most powerful solo laner in North America.
Well, I mean, start of this season, just before it began, we expected to see Baskin on this roster of Luminosity here. Snoopy was going to be the support role and now had to step in when Baskin joined his friends.
I think Luminosity expected him to be on that roster too. Yeah. Instead, we see Baskin playing alongside a different group of friends. finds himself in a different corner, playing against his former teammates.
Again, an invade from Luminosity on the red buff. They're just keeping this one on lockdown as best they can. A little bit off the mark was Andy with the damage to secure it, but he still gets it anyway, as there was no follow-up from Homiefe.
Rotation in. 3 people, nothing to find though. You see backside camps getting taken by the mid. Hurriwind will walk in alone, but safely.
It's so funny, the support builds. I mentioned this in the last set I just did, that the support builds seem to vary every single game. We saw Sovereignties early, we saw Breastplate of Valors. It just changes every game.
Urchin.
Both of them this time, going for the Wing Blade Boots one.
This is the Jigz build. This is 100% the Jigz build.
I swear there'll be someone in NA that's like, no, it was me. Like Dirty Bubble or something was like, no, it was me.
This is the Jigz build. I don't care who did it in their ranked games or who did it in their casual games. This is the Jigz build.
A little bit of aggression coming out from Sobek there, Jeff, under a bit of pressure now as his charge prey is on cooldown. Still healthy enough, going to heal. Juke out the damage coming out, not the double tap though, as at the same time, Baskin took a lot of poke, looking for some pressure there as well.
Yeah, BaRRaCCuDDa gets off a good hit. You know, gets that chain lightning. It actually winds up chaining all the way to the elementals and wasting some of the damage. There was a possibility for a kill there, but Baskin getting a little bit lucky as the chain lightning finds a different target.
Can we tune in for BaRRaCCuDDa for a second? I just want to see which skill order he's going for here. Did max the 2, then the 1, interestingly enough. We used to see back in the day with Rama that he'd max the 3-second for the extra cooldown reduction on that roll, but the 1 penetration with the throwing dagger now actually provides a lot more for boxing and actual fighting and team fights. It's always interesting to see the rotations of certain abilities getting changed as the seasons go on. Like Thor, for example, with, you know, the hammer being maxed instead of Berserker Barrage.
That really just comes down to personal preference and I think team comp. You know, it's like, okay, they have a really squishy mage who doesn't have a jump. You know, someone like Scylla, you're going to want to go Berserkers. But against a Thor or a Zeus, going into Mjolnirs almost guarantees a double tap.
I guess I think it's down to personal play as well about how strong you feel. It's like Humbats, for example. When you max throw monkey first for the damage, it means you've got to land those, or you go for somersault for cooldown.
I like somersault.
It's one of those ones again.
Yeah, I like somersault. I like to be able to blink into the fight using either blink or the teleport, and then being able to jump out and have that come back in 6 seconds, just in case I get rushed down or need to reinitiate immediately to get my ult off. But then some people just like that monkey. They like to be able to do as much damage as possible and go for those early true assassin ganks.
Well, turnaround is fair play from SoaR this time. They invade the blue buff that we've seen. Luminosity invaded the red multiple times. This time they do punish Snoopy's blue buff on this right-hand side. And Snoopy at the moment still working towards what could potentially be a breastplate of valor, I keep saying, but Hinduman Lion picked up by Baskin here. We're seeing more of this in the solo lane here, Diem.
It's very early. And it's kind of strange to me. I mean, if you look at the comp that he's fighting into, yes, it's a fair amount of physical protection, but I mean, only really BaRRaCCuDDa will be auto-attacking him. In fact, I don't think anyone's really going to be auto-attacking him throughout this game. They're looking for carries.
Ricochet off the mark. Suku gets away from danger as abduct used there by Jigz as well. A lot invested to try and find Andy and abilities. But the Harpies are going to go the way of SoaR now potentially, but they're a little bit worried about that Sobek on the front line.
Stun coming out. Oh, actually, decent amount of damage sent to JeffHindla. But it looks like Luminosity still is able to control the mid-camp area. Trouble? No, he's out.
Gold Furies, sorry, Harpy's still alive, not Gold Furies, then they will eventually go the way of SoaR. 4 men fighting over that.
It seems like a Gold Fury.
But around the back, Baskin looking at potentially coming in on mid lane here. They don't recognize it just yet. The bludgeon will hit onto TheBoosh, but they don't panic too much here. Luminosity, they'll just walk back to the tower.
I think I would have liked to see Baskin go in there.
Just ham in?
I mean, just why not? His team had such great pressure. They still had a Khepri ult, and if he could have done more damage, and I know he could have pushed them away from this Gold Fury. This still might be contested.
That's a great call. No, that was a great call from SoaR there. Honestly, they had the only one that happened about it was BaRRaCCuDDa could have recognized it first because the minion wave had pushed. He was in the sky, but he wasn't in time for the snipes.
This is basic 101 smite. Oh, 3 people just rotated out of mid. I wonder where they're going.
Hunter's missing from duo lane. There's a minion wave under his tower.
What could they be doing? Maybe they all logged off and went to play some Warhammer tabletop.
What was that game? The Paradigm? No, not Paradigm. The Fnatic boys. Was it Dust?
Rust, man.
Rust.
Fnatic, dude.
Same thing. Mid-fight goes the way. Let's look at the gold now, actually, and just see the difference between the two teams. Because Gold Fury going that way gives a nice jump for SoaR, who are slowly controlling this game.
Yeah, and there's really not that much going on.
Yeah.
It's 1-1. First blood went to LG, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, JeffHindla got that. And SoaR still winds up 2,500 gold ahead. And let's be real, it's less than a Gold Fury considering the first blood bounty. That Gold Fury also at 10 minutes is giving you, what, 300 gold?
It's also giving Jigz a sovereignty fully completed on that one trip back to base that he just did there. Did start off with the sprint, as did JeffHindla as well, so support builds changing up a little bit now. As you can see a bulwark being potentially worked on by Jeff. Could be Hot Ward Amulet though, which I can understand too.
It could be Pestilence, but there's not a ton of healing on this team, so probably not. But man, Pestilence.
Pestilence. Very effective.
It is.
And underrated for the most part.
But it's most likely going to be a Heart Ward, I would say.
I can see that, especially because it also gives mana regeneration, which is one thing a lot of people underestimate. The passive that gives the whole team MP5, especially when we saw the last set there actually between Envy and Enemy. As we see it abduct in mid lane, coming out. Good pressure as the stun hits onto Jeff too, but not enough to bring him down just yet.
Jeff, luckily, he has a fair amount of magical protection.
Yeah, I think that's why he's gone for it too. Is that Chronos is the one that's causing the issues in these engagements. He can get found at the sub, but a duct from Jigz, gonna get tail whipped away. Jeff plucks Jigz into the skies. The Zeus ult comes down. Jeff ends up falling to Baskin though in this engagement, and then the fight ends.
Well, he did it to save Andy, and he did just that. Take a look at andinster's health bar over on the right side, deep into the red. LG gonna be losing their blue buff, and that 2-0 dream that I thought LG had on lock, it's starting to become a little bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, so looking a little bit stronger now as they're grouping up nicely as a 5-man unit after that Gold Fury. Mid lane though, Snoopy's rotating in behind them here. I'm not sure if he's going to try and force anything. Zeus ult is on cooldown now, but he's still hanging around this mid lane. He's got his ultimate available. Look at him. Will he go for it?
He's going to try. BaRRaCCuDDa's on the other side as well. He's going to do some damage. Snoopy walks right past, but
very good hammer.
It's a Thor. Like, there's no way they're going to be able to lock him down.
If Homiefe did not realize how close Guan was there, he may have just gone for the double tap and then put himself in an awkward spot. Instead, he gets out and allows Baskin with Snoopy's rotation to take a tier 1 tower in right.
It's less than fruitless. It winds up being a major detriment, that rotation. BaRRaCCuDDa unable to find the cripple when he needed to. Snoopy too low on the rotation. And as a result, Luminosity finds not only another objective, but way more farm as well. Take a look at the solo laners. 16
to level 13 is the difference.
I was looking at the gold.
No, I don't care about the levels. I mean, gold eventually will even out. The levels take a... Well, actually, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. The other way around, I guess. But yeah, 3 level differential, now 2. But the gold is, what is it, just over 2k?
Wow.
Just under 2k.
Just a little under, yeah. It's about 1,800 right now.
Breastplate Valet is the choice that Snoopy ended up going for on Guan Yu, which I can completely agree with, especially because he wants the cooldown to get his conviction up a little bit more often and heal up his team. Meanwhile, Baskin took a trip back to base himself and now working towards that Frostbound Hammer, which Bellona's love.
Being able to add some more CC to the kit is very important. Comparatively to what we're seeing Snoopy go for, that's going to be a Genji's Guard, yes?
I believe so.
And then, of course, has his Breastplate of Valor
Genji's Guard
online.
and Oni Hunters. It could be the either or.
So he's going to have about 30% reduction on cooldown. He's probably going to want to finish that up with, I would imagine, a Spirit Robe.
We'll talk about more about items as well. Hard Amulet was the choice from JeffHindla there, so extra magical protection for his whole team, which will help out against Hurriwind, which is their main focus of magical damage coming out from the side of SoaR. And Hurriwind in the charts right now sat at 4,000 player damage, just behind BaRRaCCuDDa's Zeus and Baskin's Bellona.
Which, of course, rides the top of the chart cleanly. 6,500 damage already in this slap fight, and a lot of that is already proven. Oh,
pulled in his Jigz, but immediately Homie's going to go to the sky to look for a dunk on the back. He's hovering. His Jigz is trying to get away from this engagement at the moment. Will Homie commit here? They're looking for BaRRA. Going to get the stun. The wall follow-up is good, and BaRRaCCuDDa is annihilated, isolated from his team.
I mean, Jigz played that perfectly. He gets pulled, he's in trouble, but he doesn't panic. He lets his team bail him out. He runs in a straight line to ensure that nothing else can hit him, and he doesn't burn his ultimate, which is going to allow a major reinitiation. And now
Jeff under pressure in mid from a great wall over the wall by Homiefe. Turn 1 tower falls. Jeff does survive for the time being, though. He did use both his relics there, Jigz, but holding the ultimate, I think, is the key factor. You want to keep that available to support your team if they overcommit.
All right, this time it seems LG has an understanding of what's going on. They clear the mid wave and will start rotating over, but FG? Blue buff?
Is this an FG call coming out from Luminosity? Not so sure. It looks like he's going to go and secure their blue, give up the gold fury. I mean, realistically, what else do they have available? They had Snoopy, that was it. They had no Zeus ultimate here. They had no lurking in the waters. If they walk around the corner, Baskin still got ultimate, and then if you do get a good fight, Jigz ult anyway.
See, normally I'm always in the mindset of sometimes you got to cut your losses and find something else. But when you give a second gold fury to Chronos and Yi with a Khepri on the team, like, there's going to be casualties.
Well, you say try and cut their losses. They don't want to cut the loss of a tier 1 tower, but Snoopy will pay the price. Jigz ults himself, worried to get away, but Jeff pulls in Homiefe into an awkward spot. Immediate response is get out of dodge with that ultimate.
Does BaRRaCCuDDa have the detonate? And no, he doesn't. He is out of time.
Meanwhile, though, andinster did manage to split push that tier 1 tower on the right-hand side, looking towards the tier 2 now. Teleport is available for Baskin, however, as he pops his ultimate there, Andy, to get the extra attack speed. He's not going to find the tower he wanted, however.
Oh, Andy, a mechanical mistake
Caught the
there. I was
wall.
just saying he doesn't really do that. He winds up making a mistake in the fact that he strafed on Suku, and now he's in a lot of trouble. Eagles Rally is ready to go, and right on top, gets juked. Oh, but he ran.
Did he blink?
Not yet.
Huh?
Now he did.
Where did he jump to? Did he not jump over the wall?
He went backwards. He jumped over the wall and then ran backwards. Baskin got baited, didn't cover the path back, jumped a little bit too far, and then, of course, Andy able to walk away.
Okay. That just looks strange, because I was like, where? Where'd he go? Magic tricks.
But right in the beginning of that, you could see andinster. He ults for the tower, starts doing a lot of damage. He knows, okay, there's going to be a teleport, whatever, I'm out. I did some damage, not great, it's not a great use of my ultimate, but it's okay, I'll walk away. And he gets on Suku, and he starts running forward. And he wants to maximize his moving potential, and on any other god this would have been correct. He holds the A key and moves his camera in a different direction to ensure he can go around the wall. But when you strafe on Suku, you go at like 50% normal speed.
Yep.
So he winds up creating a much smaller distance between them. Baskin able to catch up, start applying that Frostbound Hammer. He has that curse going as well, and just starts whittling him down. andinster luckily makes a beautiful play in a recovery by dodging the Eagles rally and scooping back in a different direction. And I actually thought the direction he chose was a little strange, because he was definitely running back into the path of Baskin, as we saw him do. But then, of course, the blink was still up. He's able to get out of there. Suku comes off a cooldown, and Baskin decides to cut his losses and walk away.
Just buys his time for 18 minutes in the game, approaching 19 now. Very low kill count, but a very tactical game by both of these that saw us slowly winning with these Gold Furies and the towers.
Stealth. I mean, and there wasn't even a slow in that. That was 2 stuns, a double tap, a root, a ton of damage. And you see him about half health now. BaRRaCCuDDa barely dodging the way there. Lucky for him, too, because the backward shot hit.
Not going to be any pressure, though, from SoaR. They're not looking to commit, but talking about committing, Baskin pressuring BaRRaCCuDDa in mid lane to half health on that Zeus. Chain Lightning goes down, but knowing that BaRRaCCuDDa is weak, SoaR group up and look for the tier 2.
Well, he not only got him down to half health, he burned his sprint as well. That relic is down. He doesn't have an Aegis, he only has purification. So this ensures that BaRRaCCuDDa backing to the base, even when he comes back, is not a threat anymore. He can't put that ult down and hit that old set it and forget it. He must commit to the fight.
And once again, the blue buff is taken away by SoaR, stripping the jungle, taking every advantage they can to develop more of a lead. And you can see it's up to 9,000 gold now between these two teams.
We saw that, Homiefe. You can't. We saw that.
No, we didn't.
8,700 gold. SoaR in a pretty perfect position at this point. They no longer are worried about the Fire Giant. They shouldn't really try to contest FG too much. At this point, they should just be forcing fights. They have more than enough control over the map. Get as much farm as possible, and since they have such a gold lead, I mean, most notably to me in the mid, 2,400 gold between a fair mid-game character and an amazing hyper carry.
So when we look towards the late game, what are Luminosity waiting for here? Because at the moment, they're slowly just being whittled down. Is there a point that they're just going to have to turn it on and go for a fight?
I think they're probably going to try to fight under tier 2s, try to fight under Phoenixes, and if possible, fight under the Fire Giant. It would be very smart of SoaR not to force Fire Giant fights unless they have complete vision control and their frontliners able to hold down for a very long time, which, given the levels of their opponents, doesn't seem to be too difficult.
Well, Andy tried to pressure duo lane there. He just went to there, look for a little bit of a pressure onto Yankee, but Metyankey safely under his tower, so Andy will return to base and buy up a little bit more, working towards that. What was it, he's got the 1,000-fold sword so far. What's he finished that?
Stone-cutting sword.
I can't remember his name.
Stone-cutting sword.
Stone-cutting.
It could also be Masamune, which is unlikely given the fact that there's not a lot of health being built on the side of SoaR, and it can also be Heartseeker, a criminally overlooked item, albeit not on Awilix. Should probably not be on Awilix.
Goodness me, look at the difference between Baskin and Snoopy's build right now. Nearly in a full build, working towards that fine lighting before you can steal the starter item there as well.
2,700.
Insane.
It's a full It's a full luxury item at this stage of the game. LG starts up the Fire Giant, which I think is very smart. They had to go for something.
Is isolated again here. They're not going to look for him, though. It's Homiefe going in on the whole team. Wall hits onto JeffHindla. Jeff, though, with a good tail whip to just dissuade it for the time being, but they're still potentially looking for the pick on Jeff here, and he will find it.
Pulled into the tower, though. Jigz on the return. Might have to ult himself here. No, he will be able to walk away. Ult himself afterwards, just in case of the detonate. That's the second time we've seen that.
But then Andy walks forward, it gets walled and then picked off by Jigz in the end, who gets the credit for the kill. But a nice snipe from BaRRaCCuDDa answers that one back. But the fight for SoaR is still going in their favor. Barra, no ultimate available. Gets one kill, though, to make it a double. But the whole of Luminosity die.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the issue right now is there's so much damage on the side of SoaR. They're smart to not take Fire Giant fights. They don't need to bait around that area.
That's true.
LG, however, needs to make a comeback, and the only way they do that, given the current state of things, is to sneak or steal a Fire Giant. If SoaR never actually goes for the Fire Giant, they can't steal it. If they keep an eye on the side of FG, there's no way Luminosity can sneak it.
I mean, look at just in that fight, look at the goal difference that came from that one engagement between the two teams.
4x, man.
Huge.
4x.
Huge amount. Damage was almost double as well. And experience, well, another 3K in the coffers.
And that's really just kills and the tower. They're not even going to, you know, calculate the extra 1750 they're earning from this Gold Fury. And it will be a clean pickup. Let's go to Golden Hand, as you see both Chronos and Homiefe with a fair amount. Chronos backing up for the boars, though. This means that he's just a bit away from what he's trying to build. And going into 1750, I wonder what that is.
Well, Metyankey actually had 2200 there. He went back to base and picked up some crit for himself as well, so having a little bit of gold left over. Hurriwind, what did he end up picking up? Looking at Rod by the looks of it?
Yeah, he's got the restored artifact. He actually winds up selling the Vamp Shroud for a restored artifact, so it comes down to what you think is more worth. Now, if you go to Lost Artifact, I think is 15. Restored Artifact, I'm pretty sure, is 50, so he gains 35 damage, as opposed to losing 20 damage and 100 health.
Yeah. And a little bit of regen as well. For Fire Giant, started by SoaR. Luminosity, there's 2 members in the left-hand lane here, 2 members in mid. This is deletion. SoaR are just running away with this game for free, it seems.
Now, for me, we could probably create the storyline of we have seen Luminosity win a game this far behind, and I'm pretty sure it was this week against Denial.
That's true, but I don't think I would class it as close, this one.
Right, well, I mean, it's the same amount. I mean, in fact, Denial was ahead, I think, 15K, as opposed to Luminosity being ahead 10. There's 2 big differences here. One, Awilix is not a hyper carry, and 2, SoaR is better than Denial.
So BaRRaCCuDDa there, the reason he's going to fall down here is he got aggro from the minions as they came back to lane. As he was recalling, he's trying to buy as much time for his team as possible. They're not going to be able to be here to find him, and you can see that they're all, if he gets away from this now because of that silly back coming out, I was going to be like, Hurriwind, please.
No, it wasn't going to happen.
But they're going to be able to get tier 1 tower in response here, Luminosity. They're trying to group up and force something.
Nice teleport coming out from Baskin. Forces all 4 away. A dodge as well. JeffHindla off the mark. And we're going to see andinster go for the pull.
But Baskin's still over half health at the moment. Going to get away from the Zeus ultimate as well. Uses the curse to slop Andy's damage and slow down his attack speed. But Andy coming back in, looking for the feather step. Immediately Eagles rally. Andy will not get the kill. Hurriwind will. Baskin survives, and now they're diving for Baskin potentially here. Snoopy on the cavalry charge, but changes his mind after the damage from Hurriwind.
I'm actually fairly surprised that we didn't see a surrender vote start after that kill. I mean, Andy played that as perfectly as he could. Obviously overextending drastically to go for a kill that they desperately need, but he played that as well as he could. He didn't miss a lot of attacks. He baited well. He, used his beads in the right path to make sure he's doing as much damage, and he still can't get the kill. It might be it.
Yeah, Metyankey's so strong and aggressive right now. He's happy to dive against a Zeus and a Guan behind a Phoenix technically there. Now they're looking to pick up the Phoenix in mid lane. Snoopy going to slow them down a little bit. Phoenix still stands in mid. He's only at half health.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say only. I kind of say, wow, they did half off of what looked like Metyankey about to die.
That's right, with no minions as well. Where's the other talking about? But they're going to group up again. Baskin on the front line could tank this up, but they're going to wait for the minions now. All of SoaR group up for this one. Still, JeffHindla is dead for this engagement, so a little bit lack of front line. Talk about lack of front line. Snoopy deleted as well.
It was a beautiful pull by Jigz. Stunned right after, plus the double tap, stunned right after. I mean, there was just consistent and amazing pressure put onto Snoopy so that there was no chance he could even use the cavalry charge. The CC chain was perfect. The damage that they applied was as maximum as it's going to get in that situation, and they're credited not only with the kill, but the bird.
Instant purification from Metyankey absorbs the ultimate coming out from Andy, but the Zeus ult is in a good spot here. Going to do a lot of damage for the most part, or will it? Baskin going to pick up andinster, flipped back into danger field. Is Metyankey there, but Homiefe picks up BaRRaCCuDDa. Surrender vote has begun here.
Yeah.
Luminosity, they're giving this one up by the looks of it.
I was definitely wrong about the 2-0 for LG.
Wow.
I have definitely underestimated SoaR. They've been trending downward.
They have.
We have not seen the same level of pressure. They had 2 games dropped to Eager, who people saw as a middle-of-the-pack team, and we saw SoaR as kind of leading the charge here. But perhaps, this not only speaks to SoaR's ability, but Eager's as well.
Speaks to both their teams' ability. I mean, to be fair, SoaR, I said I feel like they needed to uptrend. Maybe that Eager game was a wake-up call for them. Made them realize they got to step it up a little bit more. And
or maybe Zatman is actually that good.
maybe he's just that good. Let's go back to First Blood, though, because it wasn't a high kill game, not high skill. High kill game. But at the beginning of the game, we did see the fight, and Jeff was the one that got the first kill.
Yeah, watch this. Now, Jeff's going to go for a pretty strange attack here. He goes right into the waters. And normally, this is a strange call considering the amount of CC that's on this team, but he can guarantee it, and he does. The issue is, of course, the follow-up that happens with BaRRaCCuDDa going down. They wind up trading a 1-for-1. It's definitely in favor of LG, but their farm was so low, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we had Baskin dominating Snoopy, and Homiefe was just everywhere.
Homiefe was on point in this game. His ultimate, you saw the vision that he gave for himself when he looked at the fight. He used the full use of the ultimate multiple times to look around. And you see this one, this is the BaRRaCCuDDa pick, if I remember this one correctly. Look at how he thinks about everything. He looks at where the teams are. He's like, Barra's isolated. I'm going on him.
He waits. He's smart. He's methodical. And right there, he had so many chances to go down and stun 2 people, stun 3 people. He's like, okay, I'm going to wait. This time, BaRRaCCuDDa's isolated and goes, no, I don't have to worry about Barra. We have to shut down as much as possible.
We're looking for objectives, and that's where the Tier 2 tower is, so let's try and focus them there. We can isolate them. In the end, the team picks up the kill. As he just farms a back hop, he's like, I'll get a little bit of a heal off those, then come back into the fight again. And his wall actually ends up killing Andy in a second, if you watch this, because Andy tries to commit.
Well, Andy winds up getting a pretty good pull later on, but not this time. Homiefe gets the stun, and that's what he's waiting for. He's not trying to over-aggress into these situations where he has to make a play. He's waiting for his teams to set up for him, and then he's playing the assassin that Thor is classified as.
At least in the early game, he's classified as an assassin. Late game, he transitions more to a supportive sort of setup god more than anything else. But Hurriwind in the mid lane as well on that Chronos. We mentioned him a few times, had some good rewinds back to safety. Was pressured a little bit, but had a good performance once again.
Yeah, Hurriwind here.
See, I wish BaRRa lived then, just because of the fact that they're both based in front of him. Like, well, you're dead with your lab, BaRRa.
Well, what else were they going to do?
I know.
I mean, really, one of them should have been covering the path out. But right there, actually saving the kill, he almost dropped it, given the fact that andinster feather stepped. And again, I go back to Andy. Andy played that as perfectly as he could have, feather stepping that attack, but he still winds up doing the damage necessary to get the kill and save his teammate.
So game 2, what do you want to see different from Luminosity? Because SoaR looked so strong, they didn't really make many mistakes that game.
We need to